Hi friends, my name is Kat and I've created this YouTube channel because I really just want to help people and also not only that, myself. I am 38, I live in New York City and I work at Amazon as a UX designer. One thing I was really scared of is people finding out these videos when they Google my name. So I made a different channel with a different name. So if you want me to look me up and find all this TMI information. So why am I doing this channel? Well, I've had some health challenges come up. Last year, I just had a lot going on. I had lost my grandmother to COVID. That really hit me really hard because she was one of the most important people in my life that I could talk to. And then shortly after, I had like a design burnout where I worked. And I switched jobs to Amazon, which is a pretty competitive environment and also demanding. On top of that, we purchased a new condo in Dumbo and we had to move out of the apartment that I lived in for more than 15 years. So I had a lot of emotional attachment to my environment, all the things that I know. So all of that was a lot. And while talking to my therapist, he said that, out of top 10 stresses a person could go through, that those were all top fives. On the inside, I guess I didn't have enough time to grieve or take the time to self-care because I didn't know any better. All I knew was keep moving. As long as you stay busy, you're gonna get over it. And that's how I was all 15 years living in New York. Like, you just push through it. But somewhere around May or June, I was not feeling well. And I didn't know why. I kind of just brushed it aside. I'm like, whatever. I'm just going to get more sleep. It actually started happening after I've taken the 2 initial COVID shots, which, by the way, I don't regret that decision as that is a life-saving vaccine. But something happened. I was getting a lot of pelvic pains and I have adenomyosis, which kind of made the inflammation worse. And for those of you who's never heard of adenomyosis, honestly, I never heard of it till 2 years ago. Apparently, I've been suffering from that for more than 15 years and I was not diagnosed like most women who have endometriosis. So adenomyosis is like an evil cousin of endometriosis. And the symptoms are very similar. Just a lot of menstrual period pain, a lot of heavy bleeding, and sometimes debilitating. Early on, when I was in early 20s, I had episodes where I had a lot of pelvic pain and I couldn't go to work on certain days. My back would ache so much. I had to lay on the couch and painkillers didn't really work well. Like, I had to really be on top of the pain. Luckily, I was put on birth control and I had my life back for 15 years. So with the birth control during the pandemic, I was in my late 30s. I was, I think, 36 when I decided that, birth control is a completely opposite thing that you would need to if you want to start a family. While I wasn't really sure if I wanted a family or not, or have babies or not, because it was just a lot of thought, I just stopped taking the medicine. And I think that my body was adjusting back to not taking the medicine. It was not well, but I think that with addition of the COVID shot, it really it screwed me up. So I had an MRI with another doctor at the time, and they didn't see anything important at the time. They said, hey, we discovered you have like a cyst behind your uterus, and that might be of concern, but after many tests, nothing came out. And for those of you who don't know what adenomyosis is, it's when like the cells of the uterus kind of grows in the muscles of the uterus, as opposed to endometriosis, which all the fibers and cells can grow all over your body, like all over anywhere, and you might need surgery to remove to be able to get pregnant. Mine is more about the fact that it's in the muscle, which means that at any time, if there's any contractions or pain, it's just inside my muscle. And technically there's no cure for this. The only cure is to have a hysterectomy, which means a complete removal of your uterus, which means that you cannot give birth to a baby. So I think that for as long as I remember, since the 20s, I knew that is what it is, and that decision might need to come one day, but it was never realistic and real in my mind. So back to the story, I was not feeling super well last year, and the symptoms got worse. The symptoms were not anything that I've ever felt before, meaning I had heart palpitations. Like the middle of the night, I could just wake up and all of a sudden my heart rate is shot up. I wore my Apple Watch to check what's going on. My heart rate would just shoot up to like 120, sometimes 110, and I cut out all the caffeine. I tried to rest more. I was foggy, irritable, and I didn't know this till after the fact. I felt like my hair was falling out a lot. And then it didn't take until one day I was coming home carrying groceries where I was completely out of breath and I dropped them on the ground, and I knew that at that moment, like, I was sick. So I went to the PCP, and I said I need a blood test and checkup right now because I know like not well. And for the next 4 months, I went to a million different doctors, like 5 or 6 doctors. And all of those results seem to have come back this month, beginning of March. One of them was that I was diagnosed with papillary thyroid cancer, which was a surprise diagnosis. It did not show, I don't have any thyroid issues, not show my blood tests of anything like that. I had a scan that was indeterminate, and the doctors did not feel like I needed to get a biopsy unless I wanted to. And good thing I did. I went to get a biopsy, and it turns out it was cancer. So I guess that was a surprise. I have a 2 centimeter little nodule on the right side of my throat, and I can't feel it. I don't even know what they're talking about. I press my own neck to try to feel it. Nothing. So I would like to think that they found this early, and that I have a good chance of survival rate. So that's what's happening next Wednesday. I have my thyroid cancer surgery on the 23rd at Weill Cornell. And regarding like my original issue of why I went to the doctor and did not feel well, is because I was losing so much blood over time that I ended up being anemic. So in October, right after I went to the PCP, he sent me to the ER, and I had a blood transfusion. I've never gotten one of those. In fact, I've never got an IV. I've never had my wisdom teeth taken out, so I have almost no concept of being sick, right? So that's one reason why I didn't know I was sick when I was, and I got to that point. But now I'm hyper aware of what's going on in my body. If I do feel well, I need to take breaks. I'm a lot more aware now. But after transfusion, they gave me 1 packet of blood and then asked me to take iron to keep my blood up and going. But it was a constant battle between making sure that I don't go anemic versus dealing with the pain from adenomyosis. So the pains are just debilitating. It's hard to walk. My stomach is super bloated. I feel like I'm 3 to 6 months pregnant. That's the symptoms that I just dealt with for a long time, and I managed. And in a way, I've managed it for so long that it's normalized. Right now, I've given I have been given a bunch of options on what to do next, and I have to make a very hard decision to get a hysterectomy along with a cyst removal, which means that I'm choosing to give up the option of being able to be pregnant. And I know there are other options to becoming a mom, and it could be possible to extract eggs from using IVF. But right now, I just want to be realistic about my own body, that I just don't think that my body can handle it, especially when the drugs of IVF is the very drug that would make my adenomyosis worse. So I would need to make the choice of getting worse just for a shot of extracting my egg. I know there are other options. I know there are ability to purchase donated eggs and to adopt a child if I really want to be a mom. And I know that's just a heavy emotional grieving process that I need to go through. But for now, I just really want to focus on talking about being positive and talking about getting through the next thing, which is my thyroid surgery. So these are going to be the videos next, which will be about preparation and what I'm doing to really get courage and confidence going into the surgery. So thank you so much for listening to this intro.